y'all? My name is Ryan Coleman, aka Rocco Fit, and I am here with
Evangeline DeAndre Lees.
and we are Unapologetically Mindful. The gist of this podcast is to really get people to understand that in order to be able to thrive in this life, you have to show up in the world as your most authentic, unapologetic self. And one of the biggest things that we want to preach to the community, is optimization within your mind, body, and spirit. So us as a pair are collectively working in order to be able to change the stigma between how the masculine and feminine energy in society is viewed, and ultimately being able to bring on guests that be able to add productive insight to you all.
And that includes diving deep in with yourself so that you can build intimate relationships with the people around you and raise a vibration. So we're going to be talking about everything mindfulness.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marquice Gee. I am the CEO and founder of G4 Unlimited, which is a motivational speaking and empowerment coaching brand where we strive to uplift, empower, and educate professionals to drive their passions, to discover their purpose, therefore unlocking their unlimited potential. I'm also a passionate experience curator, helping entrepreneurs, small businesses, organizations, corporations to see differently, and to see is to be stimulated, educated, and entertained. So that's me, and I'm excited to be here.
Yay, she fired.
Yeah.
She fired.
Man, y'all, I am so excited for this episode today. We got one of my favorite people here today. She has multiple names, I call her Money. She goes by Gems, the Gem Reaper. Like, shoot, she be in her bag at the end of the day. But y'all know we love to bring people of value on here. We love to bring people on here that have, impacted us in some way, shape, or form. And that's exactly what you did, especially in the terms of like networking, like going to a few events of yours and just even hearing how you speak, how you articulate yourself. Like, it really inspired me to take things to the next level, and I went through a phase where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna learn from Marquice. I'm gonna listen to her, I'm gonna see what she has to say. And at that Melly showroom, I just remember I was taking notes. Wow. I was like, I ain't never went to like a speaking engagement like that and had somebody had me taking notes, not a peer, So to me, that was next level, and then just to be able to grow off our relationship with having you go and, go through the challenge and actually win the challenge, and see the growth within that, and just get to know you a lot more, like on an interpersonal level. Yeah. We thought that it only made sense to bring you on here to talk about interpersonal relationships. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yes, I'm twitching my fingers over here trying to just receive. I'm like, just be calm, receive. It's okay.
Yeah, you deserve it all. Like, come on now.
Thank you.
For real, taught me so many things. But today, of course, a lot of what you do involves connection. Mm-hmm. You got to have a lot of interpersonal connections. Mm-hmm. I applaud you for that. Yeah. Because, again, today I want to learn from you within those interpersonal relationships. Because let's be real, if you like me, you crave that alone time, love being alone. But there is an innate part of us that really, we want that connection.
Right.
So we have to be able to build these healthy connections with people, whether it's for business, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's developing a better relationship in your family, and do it unapologetically. Like, be within your authenticity while doing it as well. And I know for some people, they can have a problem when it comes to building these personal relationships or interpersonal relationships of like having the confidence to go out there and actually meet new people, do new things. So like, how did you even build that confidence in yourself to even do, go out there and meet new people, and how can people do the same?
It's crazy because a lot of people would consider me an extrovert, but I really feel like I'm an introvert. Like, I do crave alone time. Like, I love to be alone. Like, I like to do stuff by myself. But also at the same time, I feel like I've always had a social nature about myself. Like, I used to get in trouble all the time as a kid because I could not stop talking. Like, I love to talk. I don't know what, I just talk a lot. And I think for a while, like as a kid, because I got in trouble so much, I think I went into a period. That's when the introvertedness of me started, because I'm like, dang, I'm tired of getting in trouble, like, you know? And so I think there was a point in time where I kind of secluded into myself. But then naturally, just as time went on, like I've always been super active and engaged throughout, you know, school and things, doing different clubs and jobs and all these different things. I just have a natural desire to learn people. And I think it's just because of how I was raised and the environments that I was in. I think, of course, obviously, I'm a Black woman. But I was raised in and put in a lot of environments where I was in predominantly white situations. But I never saw that as a problem. And I don't know why. It wasn't like, I don't really vividly remember having a lot of conversations about Black and white and, you know, differences and racism and all these different things. I think my parents' major focus, because they had me at the age of 20 and 21. So, you know, they weren't able to finish college. They immediately just got out here and got to it. So I think their prime focus when raising me and my sister was education. And their only rule growing up was your only job is to go to school and make good grades. And for me, I'm a very literal person. So every day I'm waking up, I'm like, okay, I got to go to school. And when I get there, I got to make good grades. So doing that, you know, it just really challenged me to, I don't know. I guess that's just, you know, I'm definitely an overachiever. But then because of that, it put me in a lot of different situations. So a lot of people call it like tokenism, like being the token Black kid or whatever the case may be. So I was always, because I was driven, you know, excelling in my grades and things of that nature. I was in like spelling bees, and I did Girl Scouts for like 6 years. You know, I was always in honors classes, but because of those environments, unfortunately, it positioned me to be the only minority, you know? And if I wasn't the only minority, it was like a 0.015% of us. And most of the time I was still the only African American. But again, never saw that as a problem, because in my experience, no one ever made me feel differently about it. I obviously realized I was different, but I was never picked on or called out of my name or anything that. Like, really, truthfully, and honestly, up until I went to college, really, like maybe mid-high school, but really up until I got to college, my friend groups were predominantly white. Like, you know, that's who I spent the most of my time with. And so because of that, and again, it's a great thing in one aspect, because I always say, like, you don't know until you know. And because of the things that we've had to overcome as Black people, sometimes we aren't exposed to certain things. And so because I was in these situations and environments where I was the only one, I was being exposed to things that I maybe might not have if I wasn't in those environments. And so I'm grateful for those things, because it's positioned me to be where I am today. And so now I think in my life, because I've realized that, and kind of just unwinding the strands and being around more people who, to me, I feel like I've always just lived my life just really by the seat of my pants. I've never really done anything to strive to impress anybody. Like, the only people I choose to make happy every day are my parents. And so nothing else I did was to like be better than anybody or to seem perfect or anything like that. So when I was constantly getting, you know, this feedback from people of like, oh, you inspire me, or, oh, I'm trying to get like you, and blah, 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 blah. Like, honestly, that phrase bothers me, because one, I don't want to be like me most days. Like, sis is tired, okay? Like, this is exhausting. But when I had to take into account and perspective of their view of me, you know? So I had to realize that it was literally, I remember vividly a moment in elementary school where one of my friends came up to me and she was like, "Are you rich?" And I was like, "Girl, what you talking?" Like, absolutely not. Now, we were far from poor, but we definitely weren't rich, you know. My parents definitely afforded us a great lifestyle and things like that, but we definitely were not rich.
Was that a black girl?
Yeah, it was a black girl. And because, you know, I'm coming to school every day, my hair is done, you know, I'm dressed fairly nicely every day. But really, people didn't realize, like, my younger sister has always been bigger than me. So I'm getting hand-me-ups. You know what I'm saying? Like, my clothes are coming from my little sister most of the time. You you know, these clothes are been heavily discounted. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't rocking like designer or anything like that. But it's just, you know, my parents knew how to present well and put us together. So then I just think from an early age, even just in terms of coming from a household where my parents were married and been together the whole time, only have kids with each other, I had to even realize that that is not the norm for most people. And so I think from an early age, I just really realized how to take myself out of my own shoes and put myself in the perspective of other people. So I just think from that natural curiosity of wanting to understand the backgrounds of other people, not just for the sake of knowing, but knowing how to better communicate and present myself, because I never wanted to feel like I was bragging about something or putting somebody down or making them feel less than because they weren't in this position. But just understanding that some people feel the way that they do because of their background and where they come from.
Absolutely.
But also wanting to communicate to people that I know there's some things that you can't control, but when you do have the opportunity to control it, like, go after it, get after it. That's why my business is G4 Unlimited, because I've never felt limited in anything that I could do. And I think it's really just the mindset that people have to get around. First, I think, and really before the mindset, because a lot of people say it starts with the mind, which in a way it does, but I genuinely feel like it starts with the people, like the people that you're around. I think because I came up in a family where people affirmed me and loved me and pushed me to do different things, that's what put me in the mindset of, okay, I can do anything that I want to do, literally. And I truly believe, like, I literally can do anything. I just choose not to do them. Like, I don't care to be a doctor or a lawyer, but I truly feel like if I studied it, I'd kill it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a desire to be an astronaut, but if I decided to take that path, I'm going to kill it. So I really feel like it starts with the people and the environment that you're in, and then your mindset alters, and then that's when you can just launch into really just being a beast in life.
That's different. So it's essentially like your support system.
Yeah.
That's what that's like the first time that, everybody usually jumps immediately to mind, but I think we so commonly do forget about that the people that are around you are so impactful.
Right. Because think about it, you know, people use the phrase, you're a product of your environment. So your mindset is dictated by the environment that you're in. If you're used to coming up in, you know, in poverty and just negativity and cloud and rains all the time, your mindset is going to be that, like, life sucks, you know? But if you come from an environment where, you know, things are prosperous, whatever that looks like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be financial. But if you come from that type of environment, your mindset is going to be way different from the person that's over here. So that's why I feel like, and that's why I love that in the mastermind group, we emphasize community a lot, because that is really important. And I think that a lot of people always say, like, well, I don't need nobody, I can do da-da-da-da-da. Which, I mean, in some ways you can, but at some point you're going to need somebody, you know, whether it's to help you advance, whether it's to assist you, whether it's to give you feedback. In some way, shape, or form, you're going to need other people. So, but that's why I feel like community is so important, because even if it's just having somebody that can confirm that, okay, the stuff that I'm thinking, I'm not crazy, even if it's just that, all that stuff ties into just how you think and how you move.
Yeah. And I think that what you said about you were able to get out and be in those different environments, I know that with me getting just more comfortable being around people, I notice when I just, like, take action and actually step out there and put myself in places, that is going to create that environment for me.
Right.
Not choosing, like, I'm not going to let the people who I'm around dictate where I'm at. I'm going to step outside of, you know, my thought of what's possible for me. I'm going to figure out what it is that I like to do, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to get around that, because that's going to get me around those people. And I was like, I can do it by myself. Like, I don't got a problem. I'm a very multifaceted person, so I really can do a lot. I can do a lot. Like, I'll make it work. But just getting myself around people who have the same mindset, that increased that confidence in me, because, like, they were affirming me. When Murdoch used to always be like, you a superstar, like, you really good, da-da-da. I'm like, I halfway believed that at first. Like, when people used to comment on what I do, I halfway believed it. And then it's not because, like, my parents didn't support me or anything like that, because my mom would say it, And then my dad, he is so emotionless. He's like, yeah, that's
Facts. Right, facts.
So my mom, I'm like, Mom, you're just saying that because you're my mom. Like, you tell me everything I do is amazing.
Right.
Like, but when I actually started putting myself out there, like, yes, affirming myself, but having people outside of me just, like, speak that into me and really see it. And then really, like, be like, can you do this for me? It's just, like, you got to keep pushing yourself out further and further to create those experiences for yourself, to be around those people. And that's really what gave me the confidence in myself.
I got a question for both of y'all. So I know that essentially I've been in situations where, you know, I didn't have the right people around me, you know, and I had people that were putting me down. I had people that were trying to keep me in a box. You know, it really wasn't good for growth. Now, for anybody who may be going through that or experiencing a group support system, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whatever the case may be, what advice would you give to them in order to kind of break through and develop, you know, the right people to be around?
I would say from my perspective, it's kind of like you got to know what you want. You know what I'm saying? And again, like I said before, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know until you know it. So I always, and this is kind of like a activity, you know, when I kind of started coaching people that I would encourage them to do is to, one, do a brain dump. And a brain dump is essentially just getting all the thoughts out of your mind, whether they correlate with one another or not. And I actually like to do mine with my eyes closed. And so what I found from doing that is that, you know, obviously you're writing, you can't see. So I don't know where on the page I'm writing, or, you know, so of course it's going to be jumbled. Stuff's going to be top of each other. And I mean, literally anything, numbers, shapes, words, phrases, whatever it is. And so when I started to do that, I started to realize, even though I'm writing down random things, when I can point out the things that are legible, they all kind of are similar in a way. Like they align in some way, shape, or form. And that started to really give me direction as to what I'm really trying to do, and give me a focus point of where I'm trying to go. So I think you have to know what it is that you desire. Of course, everyone's going to say, oh, I just want to be in a better position, or I just want to be comfortable financially or whatever. But these are broad statements that don't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the deep situation, you know, that's going on? So I think, one, knowing exactly what it is that you want, and then that will give you direction to figure out how to get the answers, you know? Right. And especially in today's age of technology, there's really kind of not a reason to not have an answer, whether that's just a long Google wormhole you go through, and that will lead you to places, that will lead you to people, that will lead you to things, whatever it is, that will help you get the answers that you need. And I think for most people, it's just that they don't want to go through that work to be able to really funnel down the whole thing. And I often have this thing where I'm like, dang, is life supposed to be this hard? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I mean, I personally feel like that's what it's about, is you start in one place with this. Just think about it like a ball of yarn. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to get to that center where it's all unraveled. But it might take you a long time to unravel that whole thing, get the knots out and all that stuff, lay it, stretch it out so you know how long it is. Some people's ball of yarn is 3 yards long. Some are 27,000 yards long. You know what I'm saying? Right. But that's really what it is unraveling all those pieces until you can get to that end point that is satisfying and justifying to you.
Yeah, I really do. And I'm going to try that. I'm going to actually have to try that brain dump. Because doing it with your eyes closed, that's really next level for real. Yeah. So I'm going to definitely try that. And I would say just being confident in not confident in yourself, but knowing yourself. Like, you have to know yourself. You have to know what it is that you even want. And I think, like, for me, it was more or less like feeling. It was all based off of, like, what feels good. Like, I know I want to be happy. I know I want to be successful. I know, like, the feeling of the end goal that I want to be. But just going off of, okay, what makes me feel good? Okay, like, when it came to my social media business, that didn't come by just being like, oh, I want to be this. It came by me helping someone. I was like, I want to get your voice out there. Like, what you're doing is dope. And this is a way that I can help you do that.
Absolutely.
You know, so just I literally went off my feelings. Was there a time where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore? Absolutely. But then I had to question, it's like questioning, why is it that I'm doing this? Like, what's the root behind it all?
Right.
But yeah, within that, just getting, like you said, closer to those people. But when it comes to building like those connection within the relationships, how do you go about like growing those?
I think it goes back to what you just talked about, feelings and emotions. I'm a very feeling emotional person. And I think a lot of the times when we talk about emotions, people try to put them in a negative connotation. And one of the things that was kind of profound to me when I first met Josh was he said, nothing has meaning except the meaning that you give it. And that's very true. And when I started coaching my first client, she stated, we were kind of just figuring out who she was. And she was like, I don't want to feel like I'm being selfish. And I said, it's okay. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine if you are a selfish person, you know, but knowing how to frame that for you, it doesn't have to be a negative. Like, we all have selfish tendencies in some way, shape, or form. Just because we like what we like, we're going to do what we do.
Right.
But people put emotions and feelings in a negative connotation in that, oh, women are too emotional. Men don't have emotions at all. Like, it's always these two extremes of it. But we are human beings that were built to have emotions and feelings. Yep. So why try to ignore what you inherently cannot control, essentially? The thing is being able to, one, understand your emotions and your feelings, to understand who you are as a person. Because some people, like, you have emotions, but maybe you're not as expressive. Me, I'm a very expressive person. You know what I'm saying? If I love you, especially one of my love languages is physical touch. So if I love you, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to, you know, like, I got to do something. You know what I'm saying? Because I need you to feel my energy that I love you, you know? I do give good hugs. But I need you to feel that, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes my emotions are too much for me. Yeah. That, like, me just telling you is not enough to express how I feel it on the inside of me. Right. So really, like, physical touch is like, for those that know about, you know, energy exchange and stuff, it's like I'm literally transferring this into you for your body to understand, not for you to just see and hear me, but for you to feel literally what I'm feeling about you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that people need to understand their feelings and their emotions for themselves. And once you can master that for yourself, you'll be able to communicate that and understand that in other people. Because one thing about me, I do have to understand is that because I am super emotional and feeling heavy doesn't mean somebody else is. You know what I'm saying? So for, like, let's say Murdoch, for example, he's not super expressive in his emotions. He does affirm and communicate how he feels, but it might not be the same way that I do. You know what I'm saying? So I have to understand that, you know, words of affirmation might be a bigger thing for him. Since that's how he communicates to people, that might be how he receives. So instead of me feeling like I constantly got to shake his hand or hug him or something like that, let me start to, let me verbally figure out how do I communicate how I feel so that you can receive how I'm feeling in a way that's best for you. And it's a lot. Like, when I'm telling y'all, relationship building, networking, connections, all that stuff, it takes a lot of time and patience and energy. And truthfully and honestly, I didn't even understand it as a skill until the last couple of years when I really started my business, because it's just how I've always been. But being able to dissect what it is that you're good at and understand how to apply it differently is truly amazing. And it's very challenging because you're going to meet some people where they're just cold. You know, there's just no way in. You can't read them. You can't get in. You feel like everything you do is just turned to a deaf ear or a blind eye. And that's okay, too. Now you just understand how you have to maneuver and operate with that person. Yeah. So I think, again, one, removing your ego from situations and then understanding how you feel emotionally and how to communicate that, but also understanding how other people need to receive that for themselves is important. Because just like you say, like, when you have friendships and you're like, this is my best friend, but we only talk like once every other month or something. Yeah. And then there are some friends that you have like, no, I need to hear from you every day. I want to live in your skin. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So it's just different. You have to really understand the different emotional communications, not just verbal, but emotional communications. And then also placing boundaries on that because like I said, just because I communicate in this way, this might be too much for you to handle. And you might not be able to communicate to me that it's too much for you to handle. And so your response is to shut me out, when it was just a miscommunication of how do we respond and receive.
Right. So it ultimately boils down to being self-aware. The more self-aware an individual is, the more that they'll be able to essentially, show up as a reflection, to others. And I think that was huge for me. And I had to really take the time to understand that I wasn't necessarily bringing in and attracting in the people I was supposed to because of who I was being in that present moment. I had to shift my mindset to understand, like, the more that I start to pour into myself, the more that I get to know myself, my emotional intelligence, my ability to communicate, all of that stuff, the more that I would be able to show up better to others. Right. And naturally, the more I continue to work on myself, everything that was meant for me started to come around, right. And even to the point now where I can, put myself in other people's shoes and have compassion. Because there was a point in my life, compassion was like not a thing. Like, I didn't think naturally to have compassion for other people. It was more like selfish. And now it's more selfless because I have to understand that, sometimes like people project, and that they're not necessarily always doing that on purpose. And, but I had, like you were talking about energy exchanges. I have to be able to know that I have the influence to shift the energy. So just because they're projecting a certain type of energy on me, that doesn't mean that I have to adapt to that. So it was really just being able to understand that. It's like, for me, that was the biggest thing with relationships was being able to have that compassion and be able to step into other people's shoes and even just be a better listener. Absolutely. Like, I think they say the greatest leaders are those that can actually listen, and even the greatest speakers, because in order to be able to speak, you gotta listen and understand.
You gotta know what people want to hear.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was huge for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I would say there's a part where you can go too far into being that compassionate. I feel like I just really got out of my another people pleasing phase because it comes in waves. It's like you start putting yourself in other people's shoes a little bit too much to where you're not honoring yourself. And that was the issue for me. And I'm literally getting to a stage where I'm coming out of that, and I am really now being really firm on my boundaries. Sometimes my boundaries can go too far, though, because I'm going to just stop talking to you, okay? I'm just I don't feel the need. I'll be tired by that point. I'm I don't feel the need to communicate. I think we're kind of on the same page energy-wise and agreement. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay. But that's that Aquarius in me.
Oh, Lord.
I'll be like, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and head out. But how do you, because boundaries is pretty much like putting people in different categories in your life. So when you're putting these boundaries, how do you go about putting people in these categories? Because you got your business relationships, you got your friendships. Sometimes you probably thought, we do good business together. We can be friends. And then no, you're just a business person. Right. So how do you go about kind of evaluating the people that you have in your life and what place they fit in there?
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's something that I'm still learning currently. You talk about people pleasing. Lord, that's my middle name. It's real bad. And I'm getting a lot better at it within the last couple of years for sure, because my whole thing was, and I think it's something that stems from my childhood as well, is I never wanted to disappoint people or make people feel bad, but just kind of realizing that it did come from my childhood, and I'm like, okay, if it came from my childhood, what happened in my childhood for me to feel that way? Right. And so I think it just goes back to that, being a high achiever, excelling, all that stuff. People were kind of putting me on a pedestal, and so I felt like if I do anything that knocks me off of that, the world's over. It's over. So every day I'm like, okay, how do I make sure I stay up here? Even though I don't want to be up here, you know what I'm saying? How do I make sure I stay up here so that people don't look at me differently or anything like that? Right. And so just as time has went on, it's went into me just giving more of myself than I probably even need to, or probably what's even expected of me. But it also ties into my emotions, and that I love and I care, like with literally my heart on this table. You know what I'm saying? And so I think over the past couple of years, just having different relationships, going through ups and downs and trials with those things, I had to realize that because I am a loving person, I really don't have a vindictive bone in my body.
For real.
Like, I don't have a harmful bone in my body. I don't shoot. Like, I really hate confrontation. Like, I hate those things. So if I know that to be a fact about myself and who I am, if for some reason we do get to some point where there is, you know, a rip, because I mean, it's going to happen in anything, in every relationship.
Uh-huh.
But if I know that I did the best that I could, I went into this with love, and especially for me, like, I'm a super communicator. Like, we're going to talk about this until it burns a hole in the ground. And then if we just can't come to a resolution, I've had to learn that, you know, they say people are in your life for a reason or a season.
Yeah.
Right.
And knowing that there's just a natural pattern to life, and that knowing that I come with everything with intention and love, and I'm not coming here to do any harm, that if we can't amicably come to a resolution, then that just might be it. That's just, we've served our purpose and we move on. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the resolve that I have to affirm myself with. Not saying that it's right or that people are going to like it, but at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I got to answer to one person. And if I can look him in the eye and say, you know, God, I did the best that I have. I was loving. I was caring. I spoke peace. I, you know, heard them out. I saw it from their perspective. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
Ooh. And that's just what it is. And I think, again, going back to what we said earlier about nothing has meaning but the meaning you give to it. You know what I'm saying? And I realized, too, that I can be in my head about a lot of stuff. And so I'm overthinking it. Like, the other person probably is sitting at home chilling, watching
For
Netflix,
real.
eating popcorn, not thinking a thing about me or what was going on. But I'm over here, oh my gosh, well, could I have said this better? Or what about this? Or did I not do that? Blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, sis, you're the only person stressed out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they are stressed out, you won't know. So the only thing you can control is what you can control, and that's myself. So I think that understanding yourself and your boundaries and what you're willing to give. Now, there are some people who are really just malicious people.
Yeah.
And that's what they feed off of. And some people can be honest. Like, I know people that are like, yeah, I know I'm messy. Like, I know that I seek to pick with people or, you know, make them feel a type of way. And that's what they got to answer to. But as long as you can be truthful about it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are some people who are like that don't want to admit it. And that's where problems can come into place. And so
Scary.
Very.
For real.
That's the devil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definition of the
Very.
devil.
I'd be like, everything I'm doing is fine. It's like, no, girl.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Absolutely. And just even saying it's the devil, like, that's real. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, I'm a person
Yeah.
of faith and spirituality, so I believe that everything that I see biblically is present here on earth. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so there are people who are just literal demons on earth, you know,
Yeah.
meant to come at you in some sort of way. So I think, and that's just the logic that I maneuver with in life. Not saying anybody should adapt that or think like that, but that's just how I feel. So I think how I grew up, everything was just like roses and daisies and perfect. And then as I've gotten older and seen, again, like some people just come from different perspectives, their attitudes, their mindset, and all that stuff is different. I'm just like, okay, let me come down and realize that they're, like I said, that natural, like just evolution of life, like the ups, the downs, the bad, the good, the evils, the devils, the angels, all that stuff. So, yeah.
I like that spirituality piece because, like, I think people be taking, you know, everything so literal, where, you know, it's kind of more like metaphoric. Like, I've seen somebody possessed, but it's not what most people would think to be
Yeah.
possession. Somebody
Right.
crawling up the wall and all. It ain't none of that silly shit you see in the movies.
Yeah.
It's literally like, you know, like, oh, they got something inside of them.
Yeah.
And that ain't me. That ain't
That
me.
ain't got nothing
You
to
know,
do.
like, I did seen people switch up and become possessed over money, and it's crazy.
Absolutely.
And it's even crazier when it be your own people.
Oof, that's the worst.
That be though.
The
That is the
worst.
worst. It's like, I did not expect that from you. I did not see that coming. Yeah, that's what hurts the most. But I think I've also adopted that. You know, you hear entrepreneurship all the time. Your first customers or your most supportive customers are not going to be the people close to you.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And so just adopting that in your, especially like now that I've been in this space, not even just an entrepreneurship space, but trying to better myself and grow and change the cycle and break generational curses and all that stuff, like it hurts because there are just going to be people who don't understand and people that choose not to understand, you know, and that is tough. And I think one of the biggest things that made me realize is like me and my mom are like besties. And for the longest time, like I said, I was a super introvert. I know how to be social when I'm out, but like once I get home, those doors are closed. Like I'm at home, I'm not hanging out with nobody. So for a while, especially during the pandemic, I was with my mom all the time. And so once, you know, I start getting back outside, you know, I'm developing my business, all these different things, my mindset is growing, I'm changing and evolving. I had to realize that, like, of course, my mom is older. She comes from a different generation and all these different things. So there are just things and concepts that she just does not get because she's hasn't been introduced to it, hasn't been put in that setting. And the first time that I saw, like, we're having a disagreement and you're not understanding me, it dang near broke my heart. I was like, oh, my God. Like, especially when you feel like that's the only person that you have.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, my God, like, what am I going to do? Now I feel alone. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm going into that seclusion, that blocked off, all that stuff. And I had to realize it's like, no, it's not that she just does not believe in you or she just doesn't get it. So it's either we have more conversation so you can get it, or I just have to accept that this is just not a place that you're in. And that's okay as well. You know what I'm saying? Because my journey is my journey. And you have to understand that not everybody is going to understand you, and they're not supposed to because it's an individual experience.
Right.
And I think that's just where a lot of people like just mess up a lot of the times, and just realizing, I say all the time, even if you have a partner, the only person that knows you is you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the only person that wakes up, goes to sleep in your body. You know what I'm saying? You're the only person that and even then, it's hard to understand. On the drive here, I was like, somebody sent me a text message, and I was about ready to cry. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, what is happening? But it's like, I can understand that experience, like, what's going on, what's wrong with me. And just going back to that self-awareness piece, like, that is super, super crucial.
Yeah. And then understanding that you have to practice, like, the art of detachment to a certain extent, because you outgrow people.
Absolutely.
It happens. We all outgrow people. And sometimes it's not for forever. Like, your paths end up realigning. Even like what you're saying with your mom. There was a part during it where it's like, I had to realize that me and my mom is actually really alike, and we were clashing in the ways we were really alike. And even though I was growing, I was still having to let go of different things that I may have got from her that I necessarily didn't like. But as I continued to grow, she was looking at me as inspiration, like, I wish I was there at your age, and you're inspiring me to, like, understand and try to get back to my roots, because there was parts of these that I did understand that I did let go of. So even seeing, like, going through your journey and, you know, letting some people go, that's allowing you to grow even more and more, to the point where some people can look at you as an inspiration. Some people realign with you, and you get caught up on a different path. And it might have gone from friendship to business relationship, just because, like, they seen what you were doing. So it's like, we got to stick to our path. That will help people out significantly, and it will help ourselves out. It's like sticking to that path.
Yep. So to close it up, we always leave the audience with a question that we have you guys answer, and that is, what is a tip or message you would want to share with the audience to help them get unapologetically mindful in how they show up in interpersonal relationships?
That's good. There's so many things. Okay, what happened? I'm trying to think of what I haven't said that will, like, just drive everything home. I would say just be willing to be uncomfortable. Everybody is different. Like, we're very similar in a lot of ways, but you don't learn that until you get out of the mindset of being different, you know? And that can be uncomfortable, especially if you've been in a position. I know people that, you know, have huge families, And so all of their best friends are their sisters, their brothers, their cousins, you know what I'm saying? So breaking out it, but they already come from a similar base, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So getting out of that to make new friends who are completely different from your usual can be very hard because there are a lot of barriers to break through. And this is coming from a person who, like I said, I came up in all predominantly white situations. I've lived in another country, you know, so I've come from a place where we are extremely opposite, like our upbringings, what our families are like, how holidays are celebrated, what our job experiences look like, all these different things. But taking the time to get to know people, I've seen that, no, we're actually a lot similar. Right. And because at the end of the day, I believe every person's goal is to live peacefully, live successfully, and take care of themselves in a comfortable manner. That's the baseline of everybody. So if you approach it realizing that we're all trying to get to this one thing, just how we navigate and get there is different. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take time to be able to understand because, again, some people are open books. Like me, I say, like, I don't necessarily, I live a lot of my life out loud for the purposes of people understanding that it's okay. Like, right, like I could have came in here full face of makeup, outfit on, you know what I'm saying, looking like it's all good. But a lot of times, like even on social media, I'm sitting there, a pimple, bonnet on, you know what I'm saying? Shirt got a stain on it, all that stuff because, yeah, life is good, life is great. And when I put it on, I'm going to put it on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, this is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it is for most people. So don't feel like you got to fake the funk. Mm-hmm. Don't feel like you got to impress people. Like just be okay being uncomfortable to open up to other people and taking the time to understand people because it's a process. Some people you might be besties in a day. Some people are going to make you work for that friendship or that relationship or whatever it is. But it's all okay. It's a process. It's a journey. And you have more beautiful memories in the journey than just trying to get to the destination. Because once you get to the destination, it's over. Then what?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you be like, dang, I wish I would have looked at that tree for a little bit longer. Or dang, we should have stopped and ate at that restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Because by the time you want to go back, it might not be there anymore.
Right.
So just be okay with being uncomfortable and taking the ride instead of always just focusing on, let me hurry up and get here. Or just Xing people off because they're not moving on the timeline that you want.
Yeah.
Find where you align in the middle and see, one, determine if it's valuable enough for you to want to make it work. But if you decide that it is, let's come to an agreement to figure out how we both can reach our destinations, however that looks for us. So
Love that. And how can our support system, get with you, find you? What's your Instagram? What's all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So, personally, I'm mostly an Instagram person. So, my Instagram is it's Marquice.G. That's ITSMARQUICE, period, the letter G. Business page is G4 Unlimited. That's the letter G, the number 4, the word unlimited. You can check me out on YouTube. You can either search Marquice Gee or G's Gems. We do have those episodes. Shout out to Tyrus as well. Everybody,
Shout
somebody.
out to Tyrus.
But yeah, those are the ways that you can find me. I'm very interpersonal. I'm very engaging. I'm not one of those people that just presents on social media and then I do disappear sometimes from posting, but but I do communicate. I encourage people all the time, like if you have even if you feel like it's a total stranger or anything like that, like I'm telling you, I've done Girl Scouts, I was a band geek, I've done literally everything. So I don't ever want people to feel like, oh, I'm scared to talk to her or I'm unapproachable or anything. Like I talk to everybody, literally. So we can DM, we can get coffee, whatever the case may be, but always feel free to reach out if you have questions or just feel like you need somebody to listen to. Like my whole thing is I want to give love to people because I've been given so much love and I understand a lot of people just didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? And that hurts me to know that. So however I can give it, and again, this is platonic love. Every love has very different meanings for people. Yep. This is platonic love, but yeah, I just want to be able to give people that love and make them feel unlimited.
Well, thank you for coming on today. It was a pleasure. I'm sure this won't be the first time. So that's a wrap.
Bye.